Hi, I'm Thomas Appel, author of Can You Sing a High C Without Straining? The first thing I want to talk with you about is physically how you go about making a sound with your voice. You're going to start things off by taking a breath. And for singing, we want to use what's called abdominal breathing, using a muscle called the abdominal diaphragm. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few minutes. For the time being, we're just going to assume that you've gotten that air into your lungs the right way. Once it's down here, it's got to come out in order for you to make a sound on the way out. It's going to pass right up your throat, right in between these two small muscles called the vocal cords or the vocal folds. Those two terms can be used interchangeably. It's the action of the air passing between the folds that causes them to vibrate back and forth. This vibration produces a sound, and that sound is the sound you call your voice. Now, to illustrate to you how the vocal folds work, how they change pitch, what I'm going to do is trace the path of a series of notes, starting at a low note, going right up the musical scale to a really high note. We're going to do this on a guitar string, and then use that as an analogy to help illustrate to you how your voice works. Let's just imagine that I was putting a brand new string on my guitar. I'm going to start by threading it through the tailpiece, bring it down the fretboard, and then wrap it around the tuning peg. Now, as I go to twist that tuning peg, physically, what's going to be happening to that string? Well, the answer is simple. It's going to be getting tighter. And if you were picking it while you were pulling it tighter, the pitch is going to rise. So if you want to raise the pitch on that string, all you've got to do is increase the tension. So you're twisting and pulling and picking, and sure enough, the pitch goes right up. But pretty soon, you're going to hit the elastic limit of that string. When you hit that point, if you continue trying to raise the pitch by further tightening, you can guess what's going to happen to that string. It's going to snap. But what if you're not satisfied with how high that string is playing? You want it to produce a higher pitch, but you can't pull it any tighter. What are you going to do? Once again, the answer is simple. As a guitar player, you just put your finger on the fretboard and move it down the fretboard. What this does is it shortens the vibrating length of the string, causing the pitch to rise. Now, there's a law of physics that states whenever anything that's creating a pitch by vibrating, when you decrease the mass of the vibrating substance, it's going to cause the pitch to rise. So you can make it shorter, make it skinnier. Whatever you do to decrease that mass is going to cause a pitch rise. So for guitar playing, you decrease the mass by shortening the vibrating length. Now, the cool thing about this for guitar player is by using this shortening method, the high notes on a guitar really do play just as easily as the low notes. The positioning is different for a high note, but you wouldn't say it was harder to do, took more work or energy. It's simply different. And this is a very important point for singers, because this represents a clear picture of the way your singing should feel throughout the entire range of your voice. High notes can sing just as easily as low notes when your vocal technique is in good shape and you're properly warmed up with a healthy voice. Let's see how this guitar analogy relates to the way your vocal folds work. When you go to sing, there are three muscle groups that come into play: the cricothyroid muscle, the vocalis muscle, and the adductor muscle groups. Now, the cricothyroid muscle is on the front of your throat. When you contract it, it pulls against the cartilage and it stretches the vocal folds, kind of like this rubber band right here. When I stretch the rubber band, you can see it's very flexible, so it's really easy to stretch. You can also see that right now it's relatively thick. When I stretch it, it gets skinnier. Well, that's pretty much how the vocal folds work. They're very flexible, so when you contract your cricothyroid muscle and stretch them, it won't feel hard at all. It's really easy to do. But they also get skinnier, and so there's going to be a pitch raise in your singing because of a tissue tension increase and a mass decrease. The part of the tissue that vibrates is going to get skinnier, thinner, so there's a mass decrease in the tissue vibrating. Both of these things work together to cause your pitch to rise. Now, the cricothyroid muscle is your primary muscle used for getting you on the note, getting you in the neighborhood. And it's really easy. It doesn't feel like straining. It feels very, very comfortable. The next muscle group It's called the vocalis muscle. Now, your vocalis muscle is actually the vocal folds themselves. They are a muscle, the vocalis muscle. Now, when you contract your vocalis muscle, it's kind of like contracting my tricep. In a relaxed state, it's kind of flabby and loose, and when I contract it, it gets really stiff, okay? That's pretty much how your vocal folds work. When your vocalis muscle is relaxed, the vocal fold tissue is not tense. And when you go to sing, your singing is going to be very mellow because they won't hold back a lot of air pressure. But as you contract your vocalis muscle, the muscular fibers get a lot stiffer. It takes a lot more air pressure to make them vibrate. And this increase in air pressure is perceived as an increase in intensity, anybody listening to you sing. So your vocalis muscle is your primary muscle used for controlling the intensity of your singing. The last muscle group is the adductor muscles. Now, when your vocal folds are open for breathing, the adductor muscles, when you contract them, they bring the folds together for singing. Now, the vocal folds have to be close together to sing, but the adductor muscles have another cool trick. You can give them a little extra contraction. What it does, it kind of pinches off the rear end, the posterior end of the folds, causing the vibrating length to shorten. Since the vibrating length is now shorter, the part that vibrates, the glottis, this causes the pitch to go up without straining. Just like the guitarist fretting down the fretboard of a guitar, by engaging your adductor muscles and clamping off the back end, you're going to cause the pitch to rise without straining. So this is another way to get the pitch up there very comfortably and very safely.
Watch this video of a singer getting ready to sing up to tenor high C in full voice. After taking a breath, the chords are brought together, then they begin to adduct from the back towards the front. Notice how they're kind of clamped together at the back of the singer's throat near the top of the screen. I'll freeze the frame on the highest note. By clamping the back of the chords together, the vibrating length is shortened and the singer is able to sing the tenor high C without straining.
So what I want to teach you to do, in a nutshell, is to become expert at controlling your cricothyroid, vocalis, and adductor muscles. When you can do this, you can sing like a pro. Now you might be thinking, well, Thomas, this sounds great, but how in the world do I control all of these muscles that I can't even see? Well, since you can't see them, you've got to go by sensation, what you feel and what you hear. This is really simple. When you go to sing a low note, your vocal folds in a relaxed state don't have enough mass to create a low pitch. So you've got to contract your vocalis muscle a little bit. This gets you on that low pitch. When you're singing in that state, you're going to feel the sensation of resonance below the vocal folds in the lower part of your throat, close to your chest. We're going to call resonance below the vocal folds chest voice. Now, as soon as you start to raise the pitch by contracting your cricothyroid muscle, with each stretch of those folds, you're going to begin experiencing more resonance above the folds, up in your head cavity. We're going to call resonance above the vocal folds head voice. So, and also posterior adduction, making the vibrating length shorter by engaging your adductor muscles, also initiates head resonance. So if you're singing correctly, with each succeeding raise in pitch, there should be more head resonance in the vocal tone. That tells you that you're either adducting or contracting your cricothyroid muscle to raise the pitch. If you don't experience more head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch, that tells you you're over-contracting your vocalis muscle to try to get that pitch up there. And for most of you, that's the source of your vocal strain. I'm sure you've been singing a song or an exercise where you get to a note and you just can't sing any higher no matter what you do. When you try, you feel like you're yelling and straining. It's really uncomfortable. You know it's wrong. And when this happens, it's because you're over-contracting your vocalis muscle. So what I want to teach you to do is to become expert at independently controlling your cricothyroid, vocales, and adductor muscles. When you can do this, you can sing anywhere you want, really high notes, very comfortably, very safely, and with lots of power. Now, I've been training singers how to sing a high C without straining for more than a quarter of a century. I know this works. I've been doing it for so long with a tremendous success rate. And it's so important for you to know by watching this introductory video that you can do this. You walked in here with all the equipment. You're watching this video with the right muscles. The only thing that separates you between being able to pull this off is time and training. That's it. You can do this. You don't have to be genetically gifted. It's just muscle training. I hope I've made this seem really simple for you. And it's really critically important that we get your belief level to a high state so you know you can do this. In my book, I mentioned the story of a young runner named Roger Bannister. Now, Bannister became the first runner in history to break the 4-minute mile. And prior to his breaking this record, it was commonly thought by many to be an impossible feat. No one had ever done it before. The year after Bannister broke this record, more than 20 runners broke the 4-minute mile. Why? Because they knew they could do it. As long as they thought it was impossible, for them it was impossible. And there's no real human explanation for this. When you're running out around a track, there's no way to know whether it's 359.9 or 400.1. But something inside you knows. And when you get to the point where you believe you can do it, it unleashes something inside that makes it happen. And so with singing, it's so important for you to be able to know you can do this, to believe it's possible. And just listen to me, listen to my experience, all of the thousands of singers that I've taught how to do this. And I'm telling you, you can do it. So what I want you to do right now is just gear up for one of the most exciting voice lessons of your life and get ready to go, because this is probably going to be a life-changing experience for you. I'm hoping it is. I've worked with so many people over the years that have told me, Thomas, if only I had met you when I was younger, I could have had a career at this. And they're always happy when they get it, but let's hope in your case that it's sooner and not later. And my prayer is that God will bless your singing and help you to really get the most out of every single exercise on this video.
Why don't you go ahead and show me how you would go about taking a big, deep breath for singing? Inhale. Exhale. Okay, now the method of breathing you just used is called chest breathing. It doesn't work very well for singing. Let me explain a good reason why, and then we'll go ahead and show you the right way. Okay. Go ahead and take a big, deep chest breath. Suck it in. Now blow it out. When you blew that air out, did you notice you didn't really push your chest down, did you?
Kind of dropped it down?
That's right, you dropped it down. And the weight of your chest is what squeezed out that air. Now, when you go to sing really high notes with strong vocal tone, it takes a certain amount of air pressure to make the vocal folds vibrate. If you don't give the folds enough air pressure, you don't get the note. And unfortunately for you, the descent of your chest, it just doesn't have it. You could practice the exercises that I'll be giving you today for the rest of your career as a singer. And if you were using that method to squeeze out your air, you would never be able to sing high notes, at least not with a lot of control or power. It just doesn't work. There's only one way to pull this off. It's called abdominal breathing. You suck the air in by pulling your abdominal diaphragm down. The outward sign is a protruding stomach. Your stomach sticks out. Then you squeeze the air out by contracting and hardening your lower ab muscles. It's lightning fast and generates all of the air pressure you'll ever need to sing really high notes with strong vocal tone and no strain. Now, the easiest way to learn how to do this is by lying down. So what I want you to do is go ahead and lie down right on the floor, flat on your back. This is the easiest part of the whole lesson. You get to kick back and relax for a few minutes. Now go ahead and take a breath pushing your stomach up right at your belt line. Now exhale. Inhale, pushing your stomach up. Exhale. Inhale. Now exhale. Good. Okay, now we're going to do our first breathing exercise. What I want you to do is to inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. When you exhale, I want you to hiss with all your might. Here we go. Inhale. Hold your breath. And hiss. Squeeze those abs. Inhale, pushing your stomach up high. Hold your breath. And hiss. Inhale, no upper chest expansion. Hold your breath. And hiss. Squeeze those abs. Inhale. Hold your breath. And hiss. Now go ahead and stand up. When you stand, it's important that you stand up straight. If you slouch while taking an abdominal breath, it still works. You just won't get quite as much air in, so generally you want to stand up straight while you're inhaling. Once you get the air in, it doesn't matter what you do. Now we're going to do our first singing exercise. What I want you to do is follow the piano humming on this simple 4-note arpeggio. Okay, hum away.
The singer we're watching in this part of the video has poor vocal technique. You can tell there's a huge break between his upper and lower registers. It's out of tune. There's a lot of things wrong. But we can learn a lot by watching him go through this exercise because many of you are experiencing the same problems. He started off by contracting his vocalis muscle a little. He had to because in a relaxed state, the vocal folds don't have enough massive tissue to create low pitches. So he had to contract it a little bit to get that low note. The sensation that he realized was resonance below the folds in the lower part of the throat close to the chest. Earlier we called that chest voice. To raise the pitch, what he did was he stretched the folds by contracting his cricothyroid muscle. As he did this, he was maintaining his vocalis contraction to about middle C, and then he just couldn't hold on anymore and completely let go. When he did that, the cricothyroid muscle took over, got the next note, and the resonance jumped way up into his head. We call that head voice. As you recall, that's created by cricothyroid muscle contraction. Now in this case, there's a huge break between his lower and upper registers because he's making the vocalis relaxation very abrupt. Sounds terrible, it's uncontrolled and really out of tune. What we want to do on an exercise like this would be able to make that relaxation very gradually so the transition would be extremely smooth. So smooth that if anyone was listening, you wouldn't even be able to tell where the singer shifted gears because there would be no break.
squeeze your abs on those high notes. Keep your lips together.
The singer you just saw clearly was struggling with this exercise. He has the right equipment, he just doesn't know how to use it. But here's some good news for all of you. After we finish this video, he continued practicing the exercises and can now sing way past tenor high C comfortably and safely with really strong tone, lots of control, good intonation, the whole 9 yards. If he can do it, you can do it.
Okay, now we're going to do some vowel sounds. We're going to start things off with the E vowel sound. When you sing an E, you want to have your jaw down about 1/8 of an inch, tip of the tongue planted behind your bottom front teeth, the front of your tongue arched. Say I. Now say E.
E.
I. E.
E.
Can you feel your tongue arching up for that E?
Yeah.
Good. We're going to sing wee, wee, wee on this 6-note arpeggio that goes like this. Now in this particular exercise, I want you to go ahead and let those top notes go right up into your upper register. Okay? Don't try to hang on to a real strong tone. Okay, here we go.
Okay, now I want you to sing wee, wee, wee 7 times in a row in what's called falsetto. Now I'm going to define falsetto for you as any time you're singing with your vocalis muscle relaxed. Doesn't matter whether you're singing high, low, loud, or soft. If your vocalis muscle is relaxed, you're in falsetto. Sounds like this.
Try that. Good, now come down in falsetto.
Now I want you to sing 7 times in a row in what's called full voice. Now I'm going to define full voice for you as any time you're singing with your vocalis muscle contracted, and the degree of contraction determines the intensity of your tone. It sounds like this.
Wee, 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 wee. Try it.
Wee, 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 wee.
Now falsetto.
Wee, 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 wee.
Full voice.
Wee, 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 wee.
Excellent. Now we're going to do some exercises for extending the range of your full voice. You may have noticed while we sang the 6-note arpeggio with the wheeze, this one. While you sang the first 2 or 3 notes in a moderate full voice, all of the high notes were in falsetto.
Now falsetto is an important part of your vocal technique. It's great for background harmony, singing softly, special effects like yodeling, but it doesn't cut it for the main chorus of a lead vocal. It's just not strong enough. You need to be able to sing anywhere you want in full voice and then use falsetto as a special effect, but you don't want to be stuck singing your high notes in falsetto because that's the only way you can hit the note. For this reason, we need to extend the range of your full voice. In order to do this, there are a number of things you've got to do.
Number 1, you need to take an abdominal breath from down below, a big stomach-popping, bloated abdominal breath. It's easiest to generate the air pressure you need when you're squeezing against a full tank. And then contract your ab muscles and squeeze out that air. Take a big deep breath. Now hiss. Okay, can you feel those abs squeezing against that compressed air?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Let me elaborate on how I want you to squeeze. Let's just pretend that I was going to be giving you a big punch in the stomach. But I'm a nice guy, so I'll let you know ahead of time. The same way that you would block that punch by hardening your abs, that's exactly how you have to keep your stomach muscles hardened whenever you sing. Now here's the way it works. If you're singing a low note in falsetto, a little squeeze gets the job done. But if you're singing a high note in full voice, you've got to really squeeze to make the vocal folds vibrate. So you always squeeze in proportion to the degree of cricothyroid, vocalis, and adductor muscle contraction levels. The next thing you've got to do is block the air that you're squeezing against by contracting your adductor muscles. This brings the vocal folds together so close that when you squeeze from down below, the air can't get out, so air pressure builds up behind the folds. This creates and sustains your vocal tone. Then you'll contract your vocalis muscle. This adds mass to the vibrating tissue and allows you to hit a low pitch. It also sets the intensity level of the exercise because on this exercise, we're not going to let go of that vocalis contraction. To raise the pitch, initially, you'll contract your cricothyroid muscle. This stretches the folds. And with each stretch of the folds, you're going to experience more head resonance in your vocal tone. If you're doing it right, the further up you sing, the more head resonance you're going to experience. Now, it's easiest when you're learning how to sing high notes in full voice if you do the exercises loud. But I never want you to strain or push your voice past a comfortable limit when singing an exercise. When going for a high note, How do we balance this? It's really simple. If you're going up to a high note in an exercise and you don't think you can get that top note safely and comfortably, simply go flat. This on the low side. You might surprise yourself and get it, because as you now know, singing high notes is just as easy as singing low notes. It's just different. But don't back off. It's a lot harder to do if you back off. So sing it strongly. Look for increased head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch. You can also adduct the folds. You can clamp the adductor muscles together at the back. This shortens the vibrating length and is another way to raise the pitch without straining. This too initiates head resonance in your vocal tone. So go up strongly, don't back off, look for increased head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch. That's your best shot.
Okay, now we're going to do an exercise for extending the range of your full voice. We'll use the A vowel sound, like in the word rate, on this 4-note arpeggio. 2 runs, here we go. Now, what I want you to do is step back just a little bit from the microphone, take a big, deep abdominal breath, and then bend over a little bit. Use your ribs to kind of squeeze out that air, just like a bellows. Many times, singers, especially when they're not used to singing high notes in full voice, don't generate the air pressure they need. This may be one of your problems. It really helps to give it a little crunch and squeeze those abs with a bend. Here we go. You're on, sing an A. That helped. Now, another thing that really helps, the angle of your head to your neck counts. For most singing, if you look down, it's a lot harder to sing high notes in full voice. Straight ahead works pretty good, and sometimes if you arch your head up about 5 degrees or so, that aligns the muscles in your throat so that high notes are more easily accomplished. Let's give that a shot. I want you to bend over so your abs are getting a good squeeze, and then while you're bending, look up slightly and see if that doesn't help. Here we go. Let's try it again. It was a little flat.
Contract your vocalis muscle, squeeze your abs, stretch the folds towards the front by contracting your cricothyroid muscle, and push the resonance up into your head.
One more time. It's got to go higher. You got it. Come on down.
I want you to notice how much more comfortable that singer was on the way back down than on the way up. That's because by attempting the high note, he stretched the vocal folds. And he has a set of folds that are in a very inelastic state. They're really stiff. And so that little bit of stretching, first of all, it got him the high note, and it also got him all the way back down with a lot more comfort and control. Now let's watch a singer with good vocal technique perform a similar exercise.
Now you tell me, weren't those high notes, honestly, just as easy to sing as the low notes?
Yes, they were. I think I could have gone higher.
All right, carry on, C sharp. Larry, you've really achieved quite a bit with your voice. You've gotten a very smooth transition into falsetto. Your full voice range goes way past tenor high C. You can sing extremely high notes with lots of power and no strain. Tell me a little bit about what it was like before you read Can You Sing a High C before you started training with me. What was it like to sing high notes?
It was a strain to sing high notes, and I just couldn't do it. I would say that my full voice range stopped at about an A flat, and that was a strain at A flat. My mind or my throat just couldn't fathom going up higher than that. And when I tried to, it would usually come out kind of like a screech, and it would also sometimes be painful in the throat. After reading the book and after training and listening to your explanation of how the throat should feel and react, and also going through the exercises which are designed to allow the cords to adduct properly and go through the full range, it became an easy transition for me.
How does it feel to sing, tenor high C today?
It feels good.
Do you feel any strain at all?
No, it doesn't feel like a strain. It feels very natural. It feels like I've got a lot of support on it from the breathing exercises, that the support is there, pushing the air out, that the chords are in the right place, and it just feels like it's coming out like it should be, like a natural sound should come out.
Good, and I think, one of the things, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but before you read the book, if someone told you, Larry, you can extend the range of your voice by 10 notes by just doing some exercises, that might have seemed a little preposterous.
Quite a bit so. Quite a bit so.
It's hard to imagine that you could get that high up just by training. Most people believe that you have to be genetically engineered or somehow born with the ability to sing extremely high notes, but I think you're living proof that it can be developed by training.
Absolutely. Before I started the training, before I started doing the exercising, like I said, A flat was about the upper limit of my full voice range. Now I can get up to about an F sharp, a G on a good day, above tenor high C. So we're close to an octave of extended range on the full voice. So I'm quite pleased with the results.
Okay, now we're going to do some exercises for controlling the tone of your voice. You can control the tone of your voice by raising or lowering an organ in your throat called the larynx. Go ahead and grab your throat right here. Now swallow. Can you feel something kind of bobbing up and down in there? That's your larynx. When that thing is raised, the vocal tone becomes thin and bright. When it's lowered, the tone becomes deep and rich. We're going to start things off with some high laryngeal exercises. When you raise your larynx, the tone becomes very thin and brash sounding. Can you talk like this and say the word obnoxious?
Obnoxious.
Good. Now when you spoke with that crabby thin tone, you raised your larynx. We're going to sing na 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 on a 5-note pattern that goes like this. In full voice, we'll sing na 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 na. Okay, kind of ugly.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Okay, now we're going to do an exercise for learning how to sing with deep, rich tone. This is accomplished by lowering your larynx. When you sing with your larynx down, the tone becomes very deep and rich, almost like speaking or singing in the middle of a big yawn. Can you talk like this and say, Thomas, I do believe today is Wednesday.
Thomas, I do believe today is Wednesday.
That was excellent. Okay, we're going to sing Gug, 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 Gug on that same 5-note pattern, this time with a low laryngeal position. You know, those two exercises were clearly exaggerated tonal exercises. Meaning, when you're singing songs, it would be rare that you would sing with tone quite as thin or quite as deep as the examples I was giving. But it is important for you to know the range of tone available to you. You want to be able to sing with thin or deep tone, even though most of the time you'll be using a neutral laryngeal position for natural sounding tone. Now, your larynx has a bad habit. Most singers, when they go to sing high notes, there's a natural tendency for the larynx to raise. So if you allow this to happen as you sing up the scale, even though you may be singing your high notes without straining, if your larynx is too high, the tone's going to be real thin and whiny. For this reason, many of the exercises we'll do and a lot of our training will be centered around learning how to sing high notes with your larynx in a neutral or lowered position so that the tone of your voice on the top will be just as rich as the tone of your voice on the bottom.
That'll be all the exercises we'll do in this session. I want you to practice 1 hour per day, 6 days a week. Take 1 day off each week and rest your voice completely. 24 hours in a row with no singing. That means no singing to these exercises, no singing to the radio, no singing period. Your voice likes to be worked and rested routinely. Whatever day you pick, make it the same day each week. May God bless your singing. Now, some of you would like to take your voice to the next level. That's going to happen by private training. If you'd like to train with me, just give me a phone call, send me an email. My current contact information is at my website, vocalinstruction.com. Be happy to help. Nothing takes the place of private one-on-one lessons. The book is great. This video is really, really helpful, but it's not as good as private training. So give me a call. I'll be happy to diagnose your problems, really get to the bottom of exactly what it's going to take you to the next level.